Self-worth is the cornerstone of everything you do, and it determines how you navigate relationships, challenges, and most importantly, moments of uncertainty. When the period of no contact ends, and you find yourself faced with what feels like a test of your emotional resilience, it's essential to remember that this test is not about proving anything to the other person. It is about recognizing and embracing your value, which has always been present, even if it wasn't acknowledged by others. Your worth is intrinsic. It is not tied to someone's perception of you, their attention, or their approval. This is the fundamental truth that must guide your actions and decisions. When a person reappears after a time of separation, it can be easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation through their behavior. You might wonder whether they've missed you, whether they now recognize your importance, or whether they regret their previous actions. These thoughts can consume you if you allow them to. But they are rooted in the external, focused on someone else's thoughts, feelings, and choices. This process is about growing from the inside out. It's about becoming weak and receding. The moment you let your sense of worth be influenced by these external factors, you relinquish control over your own narrative. This is where the power of self-worth becomes critical. It serves as your anchor, ensuring you remain grounded, unshaken by the whims or actions of others. During the no-contact period, you have the opportunity to work on yourself, to rebuild and reaffirm who you are. This is a time for introspection, growth, and realignment with your values and goals. The silence is not a punishment or a loss. It is a space for you to rediscover your voice, your strength, and your purpose. Each moment of self-reflection contributes to a deeper understanding of what you deserve. And that clarity reinforces your sense of self-worth. It is not enough to simply say you value yourself. You must internalize it, embody it, and let it guide every decision you make. When the no-contact period ends and you face the person again, the most important thing to remember is that this moment does not define you. It is not a measure of your worth or a final verdict on your significance. The other person's reaction, attitude, or interest is merely a reflection of their own journey. It says nothing about your value. If they approach you with regret or affection, it is a testament to what they lost, not what you lacked. Conversely, if they approach you with indifference or arrogance, it only highlights their inability to see the depth of who you are. In either case, your worth remains untarnished. There is a tendency to overanalyze these situations, dissecting every word, action, or tone for hidden meanings. But this approach shifts the focus away from yourself and onto the other person. True self-worth demands that you resist this urge. Instead of looking outward for clues or validation, look inward. Ask yourself, am I proud of the person I've become during this time? Have I honored my values, my boundaries, and my growth? These are the questions that matter because they center you in your own life story. They reaffirm that the test is not about them. It's about you, your progress, and your commitment to your own well-being. Self-worth also requires you to maintain a clear perspective. It's easy to romanticize the past or let nostalgia cloud your judgment when someone re-enters your life. But self-worth demands honesty, not just with others, but with yourself. Reflect on the reality of the relationship before the no-contact period. Were your needs truly being met? Were you respected, valued, and appreciated? Or were you compromising your happiness and settling for less than you deserved? By confronting these truths, you empower yourself to make decisions that align with your worth, rather than decisions driven by fear, loneliness, or a longing for what once was. Another vital aspect of self-worth is recognizing that you are whole on your own. And if they don't recognize it, that is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of their perspective, their capacity, or their readiness. Your worth remains unchanged, irrespective of how others perceive it. Every interaction you have after the no contact period is an opportunity to practice this understanding. When you speak, let your words come from a place of confidence and authenticity. When you listen, do so with discernment, not desperation. When you act, let your actions reflect the standards you have set for yourself during this period of growth. Each choice you make should be a testament to the fact that you value yourself too much to settle for anything less than you deserve. And this is not about arrogance or superiority. It is about honoring the person you are and the journey you've taken to become that person. Emotional resilience is one of the most important skills you can cultivate, especially when you're navigating complex and emotionally charged situations. When someone reappears after a period of no contact, it's natural to feel a whirlwind of emotions: curiosity, excitement, anger, apprehension, or even longing. These feelings can be overwhelming, and they often cloud your judgment. They cause you to think first before you respond. But emotional resilience is about rising above these immediate reactions, taking control of your internal state, and responding in a way that reflects strength, self-awareness, and clarity of purpose. It's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about understanding them, managing them, and ensuring they don't control you. When you're faced with this kind of test, the first thing you must remember is that your initial reaction sets the tone for the entire interaction. If you respond impulsively or emotionally, you risk giving away your power and allowing the other person to dictate the direction of the conversation. Emotional resilience requires you to pause and process your feelings before you act. It's in this pause that you reclaim your power. This is the moment where you remind yourself that your response is not about proving anything to them. It's about staying true to yourself and demonstrating the growth you've achieved. The person who reappears may try to evoke certain reactions from you, either intentionally or unintentionally. They might test your patience, push your boundaries, or appeal to your emotions in ways that feel familiar and comfortable to them. This is where emotional resilience becomes your shield. Instead of reacting to their behavior, take a step back and observe. What are they trying to achieve? Look at are their words aligned with their actions? What do their tone and body language reveal about their true intentions? By focusing on observation rather than reaction, you create a space between their actions and your response, a space that gives you the upper hand. It's important to recognize that reacting emotionally in such moments often stems from unresolved feelings. Perhaps you're still holding on to hurt, disappointment, or unmet expectations from the past. These emotions can resurface when the person reappears, tempting you to express them in the heat of the moment. But emotional resilience means recognizing that expressing these feelings impulsively is unlikely to lead to the outcome you desire. Instead, channel that energy into self-reflection. What are these emotions telling you about your needs, your boundaries, and your healing process? Use this understanding to guide your response, ensuring it reflects the growth and self-respect you've cultivated. Another key aspect of emotional resilience is maintaining control over your energy. When someone re-enters your life, they bring their own energy with them, positive, negative, or somewhere in between. It's easy to absorb their energy and let it influence your state of mind. For example, if they appear apologetic, you might feel inclined to forgive and forget too quickly. If they seem indifferent, you might feel hurt or defensive. Emotional resilience requires you to remain grounded in your own energy, independent of theirs. This means staying calm, centered, and composed, regardless of how they act or what they say. It's about being the thermostat, not the thermometer. Setting the emotional temperature rather than merely reacting to it. This composure extends to how you communicate. Emotional resilience means choosing your words carefully and delivering them with confidence and poise. Instead of letting your emotions drive the conversation, focus on articulating your thoughts clearly and assertively. Speak from a place of strength, not vulnerability. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or being cold. It means expressing yourself in a way that reflects your values and priorities. For instance, if they ask why you've been distant, you can calmly explain that you've been focusing on yourself and your growth. This response not only shows emotional maturity, but also subtly reinforces the boundaries you've established during the no contact period. Resilience also means being prepared for the possibility that the other person might not respond the way you hope or expect. They may not acknowledge their mistakes, offer an apology, or show the level of growth you've achieved. This can be disappointing, but it's crucial to remember that their response is not a reflection of your worth or your progress. Emotional resilience allows you to detach from their reaction, viewing it as information rather than validation. Their behavior simply provides insights into where they are on their own journey, not a measure of how far you've come on yours. In moments of emotional intensity, grounding techniques can be incredibly helpful. These might include deep breathing, mindfulness exercises, or even taking a moment to step away from the conversation if needed. These practices help you maintain your composure and prevent emotional overwhelm. They also remind you that you are in control of your response, no matter how challenging the situation may feel. The way you respond to the discomfort and the outrage. Finally, emotional resilience involves a commitment to self-care and self-respect. This means honoring your boundaries, protecting your peace, and prioritizing your well-being above all else. It means reminding yourself that you've worked hard to reach this point and that you deserve to move forward, not backward. Resilience is not about being unbreakable. It's about recognizing your strength, even in moments of vulnerability, and choosing to act in ways that support your growth and happiness. Actions are the clearest window into a person's true intentions. While words may hold the allure of promises and emotional appeal, they can often be deceptive, used to manipulate, placate, or even mislead. This is why it is so critical to focus on what someone does rather than what they say, especially in moments when emotions run high or when trust needs to be rebuilt. Observing actions provides a level of clarity that words alone can never achieve, allowing you to see beyond surface-level conversations and uncover the truth of someone's character and intentions. When someone reappears after a period of no contact, it's easy to get caught up in the words they use. They may express regret, offer explanations, or make promises about how things will be different moving forward. These words can sound reassuring and even persuasive, especially if you've been longing for reconciliation or closure. However, relying solely on words can be dangerous because words are easily spoken. They require little effort and no real commitment. Actions, on the other hand, demand consistency, effort, and alignment with stated intentions. They reveal whether a person's words are backed by genuine resolve or if they are merely empty promises designed to elicit a specific reaction. Paying attention to action starts with observing patterns. It's not about a single grand gesture or isolated instance, but about the behaviors that consistently emerge over time. Does this person show up when they say they will? Do they follow through on their commitments, no matter how small? Are their actions aligned with the values they claim to hold? These are the questions that reveal their true intentions. Patterns of behavior speak volumes because they demonstrate whether someone is willing to invest the time, effort, and energy needed to build trust and prove their sincerity. Another critical aspect of focusing on actions is recognizing the difference between intentionality and convenience. Sometimes people will take certain actions that appear meaningful but are actually motivated by convenience rather than genuine effort. For example, they might send you a message when it's easy or convenient for them, but fail to show up or follow through when doing so requires real effort. True intentions are revealed in the moments when it's difficult to act with integrity, when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or requires sacrifice. Pay attention to how they behave in these moments, as they provide the clearest insight into their character. And quote, it's also important to recognize that actions reveal not only intentions, but also priorities. People make time for what matters to them, and their actions will always reflect what they value most. If someone consistently makes an effort to include you in their life, prioritizes your well-being, and demonstrates respect for your boundaries, it shows that they value and care about you. On the other hand, if their actions are sporadic, inconsistent, or self-serving, it's a sign that their priorities may not align with yours. Understanding this distinction is key to making informed decisions about whether to trust or invest in the relationship. Observing actions also requires emotional detachment to some extent. This doesn't mean shutting off your feelings or being unempathetic, but rather approaching the situation with objectivity and clarity. When emotions cloud your judgment, it's easy to interpret actions in a way that aligns with what you want to believe rather than what is actually true. Emotional detachment allows you to see actions for what they are, free from the biases and expectations that emotions can create. It helps you maintain perspective and prevents you from rationalizing or excusing behaviors that don't align with your standards or values. Another vital element of focusing on actions is accountability. Actions reveal whether someone is willing to take responsibility for their past behavior and make amends. For instance, if they have hurt you in the past, do their actions demonstrate a genuine effort to acknowledge and repair the harm they caused? Do they make a consistent effort to rebuild trust and show that they have learned from their mistakes? Accountability is a key component of meaningful change, and it can only be demonstrated through actions, not words. When someone avoids accountability, makes excuses, or shifts blame, it's a red flag that their intentions may not be as genuine as they claim. Focusing on actions also helps you maintain your own boundaries and standards. When you evaluate someone based on their behavior rather than their words, you are less likely to compromise your values or settle for less than you deserve. Actions provide a clear measure of whether someone is meeting the expectations you've set for yourself and your relationships. They allow you to make decisions based on tangible evidence rather than hope, assumption, or wishful thinking. This approach empowers you to protect your well-being and prioritize your growth and happiness. It's important to recognize that observing actions is not about being overly critical or judgmental. It's about seeking clarity and ensuring that your trust and energy are placed in the right people. It's about valuing yourself enough to demand consistency, effort, and respect from those who seek to be a part of your life. By focusing on actions, you create a framework for healthy, authentic connections built on mutual respect and shared values. You also cultivate the ability to discern between those who genuinely support your growth and those whose actions fall short of their words. This discernment is an essential skill for navigating relationships with confidence and self-respect. Boundaries are a fundamental aspect of self-respect and emotional well-being, especially when you are reestablishing contact with someone after a period of separation. Setting and maintaining boundaries ensures that your needs and values remain protected, even in emotionally charged situations. Boundaries act as a framework that guides how others interact with you, and they serve as a reflection of your self-worth. When someone re-enters your life, it's essential to make it clear what you will and will not tolerate. This clarity not only protects your emotional health, but also establishes the foundation for healthy, mutually respectful relationships. One of the most critical aspects of boundaries is that they are non-negotiable. They are not up for debate or subject to another person's preferences or approval. When you define your boundaries, you are making a declaration of what is acceptable in your life and what is not. For instance, if you have decided that consistent communication and honesty are non-negotiable for you, then any behavior that falls short of this standard should be met with clear and firm action. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about taking control of your own experience and ensuring that you are treated with the respect you deserve. Establishing boundaries requires a deep understanding of your own needs and values. This often involves self-reflection, an honest assessment of past experiences. What behaviors hurt you in the past? What patterns made you feel unvalued or disrespected? By identifying these triggers, you can create boundaries that prevent a recurrence of those experiences. So, for example, if a lack of accountability was a significant issue in the past, you might establish a boundary that requires the person to demonstrate consistent, trustworthy behavior before you fully engage with them again. Boundaries are not about punishing someone for past mistakes. They are about protecting yourself from repeated harm. When someone reappears after no contact, they might test your boundaries, either consciously or unconsciously. They may push against your limits to see how much they can get away with, or whether you are serious about enforcing them. This is where the strength of your boundaries will be tested. It's crucial to remain firm and consistent, even if it feels uncomfortable or if the person reacts negatively. Remember that boundaries are not meant to please others. They are meant to serve you. If someone respects and values you, they will understand and honor your boundaries, even if it challenges them. Another essential aspect of boundaries is communication. While boundaries are personal, they need to be clearly communicated to others to be effective. This doesn't mean you need to justify or explain your boundaries extensively, but it does mean articulating them in a way that is assertive yet respectful. For instance, if you've decided that you need time to rebuild trust, you might say, "I appreciate you reaching out, but I need to take things slowly and see consistent actions before I can fully re-engage." Clear communication leaves no room for ambiguity and sets the tone for how you expect to be treated moving forward. Boundaries are also about action, not just words. It's not enough to state your boundaries. You must be willing to enforce them. If someone crosses a boundary, you need to address it immediately and take appropriate action. This might mean stepping back from the relationship, limiting communication, or even cutting ties entirely if the behavior persists. Enforcing boundaries can be challenging, especially if you care about the person or fear conflict. However, failing to enforce your boundaries sends the message that they are not important, which can lead to further disrespect and harm. By standing firm, you reinforce the idea that your needs and well-being are non-negotiable. And if this is important, it's also important to recognize that boundaries are not static. They can evolve as you grow and as the relationship progresses. What might be necessary at the beginning of reestablishing contact might shift as trust is rebuilt and understanding deepens. However, any changes to your boundaries should be made intentionally and based on consistent, respectful behavior from the other person, not as a result of pressure, guilt, or emotional manipulation. Flexibility and boundaries should come from a place of strength, not weakness. Boundaries are not just about protecting yourself. They also benefit the other person by providing clarity and structure. When your boundaries are clear, the other person knows exactly what is expected of them, which can reduce misunderstandings and conflicts. Boundaries create a healthier dynamic where both parties can engage with mutual respect and understanding. They also encourage the other person to reflect on their own behavior and make changes if they truly value the relationship. In this way, boundaries can act as a catalyst for growth and improvement, both for you and for the other person. One of the challenges of maintaining boundaries is dealing with the emotions that arise when they are tested or crossed. You may feel guilt, anger, or sadness, especially if the other person reacts negatively to your boundaries. These emotions are normal, but they should not deter you from holding firm. It's helpful to remind yourself why you established the boundary in the first place, and to focus on the long-term benefits of maintaining it. Boundaries are a form of self-care, and prioritizing your own well-being is never selfish. It's necessary. Maintaining boundaries also requires self-discipline and consistency. You cannot set a boundary and then repeatedly allow it to be crossed without consequences. Doing so undermines your credibility and sends mixed signals to the other person. Consistency builds trust and respect, both for yourself and from others. It shows that you are serious about your standards and that you value yourself enough to uphold them, even in the face of resistance or discomfort. Trust is one of the most delicate and powerful elements in any relationship. It is the invisible thread that binds two individuals together, providing a foundation for mutual understanding, respect, and intimacy. However, trust is not something that can be taken for granted or assumed. It must be earned and continuously reinforced through actions and behaviors. When someone reappears after a period of no contact, the question of trust becomes even more critical. Trusticity is the most important commitment. You cannot simply assume that their return signifies a change or that their intentions are aligned with your well-being. It is essential to evaluate whether they are truly worthy of your trust, a process that requires time, patience, and keen observation. To assess trustworthiness, start by looking at their consistency. Consistency is one of the most reliable indicators of genuine intent. Trust is not built on isolated actions or grand gestures. It is established through a pattern of behavior over time. For instance, does this person follow through on their commitments? Are their words aligned with their actions? Consistency in their behavior demonstrates reliability and accountability, two critical components of trust. If their actions are sporadic or inconsistent, it's a red flag that they may not yet have the stability or genuine intent required to rebuild the relationship. Another important aspect of evaluating trustworthiness is transparency. Trust thrives in an environment of openness and honesty. When someone is trustworthy, they are willing to communicate openly, even about difficult or uncomfortable topics. They do not hide behind vague explanations or evasive behavior. Pay attention to whether the person is forthcoming with information and whether their stories align with what you already know. Are they willing to take responsibility for their past actions and admit mistakes without defensiveness or excuses? Transparency is a clear sign that they are operating from a place of integrity rather than deception. Accountability is another cornerstone of trustworthiness. A trustworthy person not only acknowledges their past mistakes, but also takes active steps to make amends and demonstrate growth. They do not shy away from the consequences of their actions or attempt to shift blame onto others. Instead, they take ownership of their behavior and show a genuine commitment to change. Accountability is not just about saying, "I'm sorry," it's about showing through consistent actions that they are willing to do the work required to rebuild trust. Without accountability, any promises of change are likely to be hollow and short-lived. Boundaries play a crucial role in evaluating trustworthiness as well. A trustworthy person will respect the boundaries you set and will not attempt to manipulate or coerce you into compromising them. For example, if you have communicated that you need time to rebuild trust, do they honor that request, or do they pressure you to move faster than you're comfortable with? Respect for boundaries shows that they value your feelings and autonomy, which is a vital aspect of trust. Conversely, disregard for your boundaries is a clear sign that they are more focused on their own desires than on building a healthy, mutually respectful relationship. Another way to gauge trustworthiness is by observing their reactions to conflict or disagreement. Trustworthy individuals handle conflict constructively, using it as an opportunity to understand and address issues rather than as a platform for blame or manipulation. How do they react when you express concerns or hold them accountable? Do they respond with patience and understanding, or do they become defensive and dismissive? Their behavior in these moments reveals a great deal about their emotional maturity and their willingness to invest in the relationship in a meaningful way. Trustworthiness is also reflected in their consistency over time. A single positive interaction or a short period of good behavior is not enough to establish trust. True trust is built on sustained effort and reliability. Pay attention to how their behavior evolves over weeks or months. Are they showing a genuine commitment to change, or do they revert to old patterns once the initial effort has passed? Long-term consistency is the ultimate test of trustworthiness, as it demonstrates that their intentions are not fleeting, but deeply rooted in a desire to build a strong and healthy connection. It's important to remember that trust is a two-way street. While you are evaluating their trustworthiness, they should also be demonstrating their willingness to earn your trust. This means they must show patience and understanding, recognizing that rebuilding trust takes time and cannot be rushed. A trustworthy person will not try to bypass this process or expect instant forgiveness. Instead, they will show a willingness to put in the effort required to prove their sincerity. This process requires humility and genuine care, traits that are essential for any meaningful relationship. Evaluating trustworthiness also requires you to listen to your intuition. Your gut feelings often pick up on subtle cues that your conscious mind might overlook. If something feels off or inconsistent, don't dismiss those feelings. While it's important to approach the situation with an open mind, it's equally important to trust yourself and your ability to recognize when something isn't right. Intuition is a valuable tool in discerning whether someone is truly worthy of your trust or if they are merely trying to manipulate your emotions. Rebuilding trust is not an easy or linear process. It requires effort, patience, and a willingness to navigate complex emotions. However, trust should never be granted lightly. It is a precious and fragile commodity that must be earned through consistent, transparent, and accountable behavior. By carefully observing their actions, respecting your own boundaries, and trusting your intuition, you can make an informed decision about whether they are worthy of your trust. Personal growth is the cornerstone of any meaningful transformation, particularly when navigating the complexities of reconnecting with someone after a period of no contact. The time apart is not just a gap in communication. It is an opportunity to evolve, to reflect, and to emerge stronger and more self-aware. This growth is not merely about superficial changes or temporary adjustments. It is a deep and enduring process that redefines who you are, what you value, and how you approach relationships. When someone re-enters your life, your personal growth becomes the lens through which you evaluate the relationship's potential and determine whether it aligns with your evolved self. Growth begins with introspection. Time away from a relationship provides a unique opportunity to examine your patterns, behaviors, and choices. It's a chance to ask yourself difficult questions. What led to the breakdown in communication? Were there red flags you ignored? How did your actions or reactions contribute to the dynamic? Introspection is not about assigning blame, but about taking responsibility for your role in the relationship. This self-awareness is the foundation for change, as it allows you to identify areas where you can improve and recognize what you truly need and deserve moving forward. One of the most significant aspects of personal growth is the development of emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is the ability to navigate challenges, setbacks, and disappointments with strength and grace. It is not about avoiding pain, but about learning how to process it in a healthy and constructive way. During no contact, you may have experienced feelings of loneliness, sadness, or even anger. These emotions, while difficult, are a natural part of the healing process. By allowing yourself to feel and process them, you develop the emotional strength needed to approach future interactions with clarity and confidence. Self-worth is another critical component of personal growth. When someone leaves or disconnects from you, it can trigger feelings of inadequacy or self-doubt. However, personal growth involves recognizing that your worth is not determined by someone else's presence or absence in your life. It is about cultivating a deep and unwavering sense of self-value that is independent of external validation. This shift in perspective transforms how you view yourself and how you expect to be treated. You begin to set higher standards for the relationships you engage in, ensuring that they reflect your newfound sense of worth. Personal growth also involves setting and pursuing goals that align with your values and aspirations. During the period of no contact, you may have had the chance to focus on your own passions, career, or personal development. This focus on yourself is not an act of selfishness, but a necessary step in becoming the best version of yourself. When you invest in your own growth, you not only enhance your own life, but also bring greater value to any relationship you choose to re-engage with. Secondly, you should take care of your own life, or at least put some preemptive plan in place to reach out. A person who has taken the time to grow and evolve is better equipped to contribute to a healthy and fulfilling partnership. Boundaries play a pivotal role in personal growth. As you grow, you become more aware of what you need to thrive emotionally, mentally, and physically. This awareness allows you to establish and enforce boundaries that protect your well-being. Boundaries are not walls that shut others out. They are guidelines that ensure your relationships are built on mutual respect and understanding. When someone returns after no contact, your boundaries serve as a litmus test for their intentions and respect for your growth. If they honor your boundaries, it is a sign that they value and support the person you have become. This is the recipe. Another aspect of personal growth is the ability to forgive, not necessarily for the other person's benefit, but for your own peace of mind. Forgiveness does not mean condoning harmful behavior or forgetting what happened. It means releasing the anger and resentment that can weigh you down and hinder your growth. Forgiving someone, whether or not they return, is an act of liberation. It allows you to move forward without the burden of past pain, creating space for new opportunities and healthier connections. Growth also involves learning to trust yourself and your decisions. During no contact, you may have questioned whether you made the right choice or second-guess your instincts. Personal growth involves rebuilding that trust in yourself, recognizing that your intuition and judgment are valuable tools. This self-trust empowers you to navigate future interactions with confidence, making choices that align with your values and priorities. Self-trust empowers you to navigate future interactions with confidence, making choices that align with your values and priorities. A key element of personal growth is adaptability. Life is unpredictable, and relationships are no exception. Personal growth equips you with the flexibility to navigate change and uncertainty with grace. This adaptability allows you to approach the re-entry of someone into your life with an open mind and a balanced perspective. You can evaluate the situation based on the present rather than being overly influenced by the past or future expectations. This ability to stay grounded and adaptable is a hallmark of personal growth, enabling you to make decisions that serve your highest good. Personal growth is not a destination, but an ongoing journey. The time spent apart from someone is an integral part of that journey, as it provides the space and perspective needed to reflect and evolve. As you grow, you may find that your priorities and values shift. What once seemed important may no longer resonate with you, and that's okay. Growth is about embracing change and allowing yourself to evolve without clinging to outdated beliefs or patterns. This willingness to grow and adapt is what ultimately enables you to build healthier, more fulfilling relationships moving forward.